What inspired you to come into fashion photography, and what were the challenges that you faced throughout your career?
But my journey into fashion starts more at the age of 15 when I got my first fancy camera.
From the fashion editor in Extra magazine to becoming brand ambassador for Nikon.
For me, fashion has always been just a glorified portrait. From the age of 15, I've been using a Nikon camera. Photography is one of those things I roam around with a camera 24/7 in my car while I'm walking anywhere. Fashion was just a joke because a friend of mine said, fashion is so difficult and you don't know, it's so hard to be a designer. So I said, okay, I'll prove to you that's the easiest thing in the world.
Your work spans from fashion shoot, photojournalism, essay writing about Karachi and Neelam Valley, a lot of things.
Fashion photography and photojournalism they're completely different in that chaotic and you are following whatever the tide is.
So I would like to know कि पाकिस्तान की इंडस्ट्री में आपने throughout क्या change देखा?
It has grown from there. I sat Nusrat standing there, Khan Saab, and I'm like maybe 4 people away from him, and I sat with the car with my camera, and I would clap, and I would take a picture, and I was on stage with him. I mean, this is how wonderful people can be and are, and with a camera, this is the access you get, which is undeniable.
Assalamu alaikum and welcome everyone. I am Sindhu Jatoi, the fashion coordinator for University of Creative Arts at TMUC. Today we are hosting a very special guest with us, a person, a legend I would say, behind the lens and creative world of photography. From capturing fashion photography to its finest and capturing everyday moment into art. I would like to welcome Sir Tapu Javeri at our show today. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us today. It is an absolute honor for us to have you here today.
Lovely to be here.
Thank you. So I would like to start from a very early stage of your career, I would say. You started your journey at the age of 9 with your first ever camera, vintage German SLR. Diana SLR. So I would like to know what inspired you to come into fashion photography, and what were the challenges that you faced throughout your career?
Okay. When you get a camera at the age of 9 and you're very young, you have no subjects to photograph. So it's usually family, friend, the animals in the house, and that's where I started. But my journey into fashion starts more at the age of 15 when I got my first fancy camera, let's say. Even though I used my Diana camera for the longest time, I think no one has used it as much as me.
Really?
And I even did fashion shoots with it. But at 15, I got my wonderful Nikon, and after that, I've always used that camera. And my fashion journey begins really with Teenager magazine.
Yeah.
And that was, I was conned into that by Shakila Chhabra. And she convinced me to join the fashion industry, if you want to call it that, by putting fashion pages in the middle of Teenager. And
you were a teenager yourself by that time.
I was a kid. I mean,
you were a kid, yeah.
A kid. She was my friend. She was senior, and she said, we would go to people's houses. I remember going to Anita Ayub's house and convincing her parents to let her model. So that's how old that was. And after that, then I went to college, and when I came back from college, the fashion industry was starting, and I sort of rode that crest for a long time. And friends of mine like Tariq Amin, Fifi Haroon, they were all in the fashion industry, and I sort of joined in. So that's where we really started.
Oh, that's really fascinating, sir. Your journey only expanded throughout the time from teenager and, coming to to the fashion industry. You became the role model for a lot of people, I believe. I would like to know, from the fashion editor in Extra magazine to becoming a brand ambassador for Nikon, what were the key milestones and turning points in your career that helped you build as a leading fashion photographer in the industry of Pakistan?
To this day, I don't consider myself a fashion photographer. I consider myself a photographer. For me, fashion has always been just a glorified portrait. But having said that, my early journey from teenager, then starting fashion, riding the fashion wave, and then Extra. In Extra, it was an effort put together by myself, Fifi Haroon, and Arif Mahmood, and we agreed to Fifi's magazine on the condition that we would have full creative control.
That's
And
great.
for that very reason, it was a place where you could express yourself to the fullest and also push the boundaries of whatever fashion was in this country and whatever the fashion image was, not really fashion. And beyond that, then it became a contest. When you have two very friendly rivals, Arif and I are very friendly. So I've always believed that friendly rivalry creates really good
That's true.
art.
That's really
And for
true.
that very reason, we would sound off each other and use whatever
I
we were
believe that was
seeing with each
difficult,
other
very difficult
and
at that
do
time.
better work with that. And as for Nikon, the thing with Nikon was that from the age of 15, I've been using a Nikon camera
Really?
and haven't really strayed. I've always been very faithful to them. So when they established in Pakistan, then they asked me, and I was like, of course, why not? And it's been a really fabulous journey because they give me, they gave me the respect which, as a ambassador I'm supposed to be given. And apart from that, they take me on these wonderful trips. So I get to go for Nikon trips, which are quite a bit of fun.
I believe, sir, your journey has been, changing throughout. I know that you have wore so many hats, from being fashion photographer to art photographer, jewelry designer, radio host, and also a television judge. How have all these roles intersected in your career, and how did you balance all these different roles in your career? And while the industry was also evolving throughout.
There are 24 hours a day, and I'm not one of those people who sleeps very much. So you have tons of time, and I can't ever have idle time. So for me, it is always what can I do to fill my time?
Of
And
course.
photography is one of those things. I roam around with a camera 24/7 in my car while I'm walking anywhere. So that covers the quirk I have about photography. That sort of is fulfilled by that. But then there are other times in the day when you want to do other things. So any opportunity which comes my way, and I say this to everyone, if you have an opportunity coming your way,
Avail it.
avail it, because
Definitely.
you never know what happens in the
You
end.
never know.
Years ago, a friend of mine, Aisha Alam, who was also a model, asked me, do you want to, she first asked me for my music because I love music, so I had a big collection of music. And I said, I'm not giving you my music. So she said, then come and do a radio show. And then I started radio
That's
just
so
because of
diverse,
that.
Yeah.
So and radio for me became very, I guess it's very insular, but it is what it is. This is a place where I enjoy my 2 hours. Now it's only 2 hours a week because I've whittled it down. But for 2 hours a week, I am listening to music which I love, and I'm loving that. Tell people what they should hear, what they shouldn't hear.
Yeah.
Then for other things, when I did my art photography, I've always been into art. So melding photography and art and doing something like that was very, very, it came to me naturally. So I just did that. And what else? Fashion was just a joke because a friend of mine said, fashion is so difficult and you don't know, it's so hard to be a designer. So I said, okay, I'll prove to you that's the easiest thing in the world.
Easiest thing.
Okay. So all I did was I decided to make clothes for a year, and I gave myself a year. I said, I'm not going to do anything more than a year. And after a year, I'll close it.
Something else now.
So in that year, I ended up showing in fashion in Paris.
That's
And then I said, okay, enough. We've done it, proved it. Let's move on.
Let's move on now.
Yeah.
That's great, sir. That shows how creativity can flow into different directions, And let's talk about, how about we talk about creativity and unpredictability at the same time. Your work spans from fashion shoot, photojournalism, essay writing about Karachi and Neelam Valley, a lot of things. Can you share a small memory from any of the fashion shoot, or anything, writing or anything you can tell, where your creativity and you've experienced the creativity and unpredictability of the industry at the same time?
Okay. fashion photography and photojournalism is they're completely different in that one is chaotic and
Yeah.
you are following whatever the tide is or happenstance is happening, and the other you are head of the creative process. So with the in photography, it's not just about creating the image, it's also about creating a mood. So
Creative mood.
in fashion you create the mood,
Mood, yeah.
and in photojournalism you follow whatever the mood is.
Hmm.
And my journey, when I started photography, used to study in Sadar, and my father's shop is also in Sadar. So my journey every day would be end school, walk all the way through Sadar, and go to my father's shop. And that journey of maybe 20 minutes, 30 minutes used to become the my I don't know, it was more like my portfolio, and that I would stop and take photographs. And at that time, Karachi was super safe, so you could
Super
roam
safe,
around with
yeah.
a camera, and
And Sadar
nobody
was one
really
of the
did
posh
anything, and
areas.
they also posed for you completely.
Yeah.
So that became my photojournalistic trip
Oh, really?
every that thing. And also it taught me a love of Karachi. So I mean, I honestly, I live in this city and I really love this city. So I want to archive it as much as possible, which is why I bought my
I can
archival
see
book
that,
of there,
yes.
which is old areas of Karachi. So that became my photojournalistic, I guess, beginnings.
One of the best
And
memories,
then
you can
when
say.
fashion happened, fashion, because I love portraits. I'm one of those people who, I'm maybe not very vocal with people, but I when I do have a camera in my hand, then I guess I'm a completely
So your
different
work
person.
speaks. Your work speaks.
You become a different person.
Yeah.
There's it hate to say it, but this is becomes my. It's like having a camera is like having a all access card. Okay. I have, mashallah, sin almost never been stopped. If you have a camera in your hand and you want to, some concert is happening anywhere, and once you have this camera, they'll take you backstage, you'll go front, wherever the hell you
Where
want to
you want
go.
to go, yeah.
Nobody really stops you. And so that ability to have that camera gave me access to so many people. And apart from that, I'm sort of obsessive in that I want to collect everyone's picture.
Pictures.
So, then I started making, I have tons of them. I have these books which I just collect all my portraits in.
Oh.
So I have portraits from, Nusrat Fateh Ali Khan and Madam Noorjan to, the chaiwala sitting on the corner. So that array of faces is what I want. I mean, this is something which I'm obsessed to collect. So
That's crazy, sir.
that helps me and help to.
So you have witnessed a very diverse, evolving industry throughout, from past 4 decades, I believe. So I would like to know कि पाकिस्तान की इंडस्ट्री में आपने throughout क्या change देखा, from print media to change that came to social platforms and digital transformation. I would like to know what is your say to this? What's the transformation that you have experienced from your experience? I would like to know.
Well, if you just look at fashion, it's grown in very weird ways. When it first started, it was all about, home fashion, if you want to
Yeah.
really call it. It was a home economics
Yeah, it didn't
job,
have any
okay?
that.
Because you had all these designers who were working in their houses. They had their own little addas or whatever.
Yes,
and
exactly.
then they would make clothes for the glitterati. That was the beginning, but that laid the foundation. So people like Sana Safina, as we know now, is a big brand.
Yes.
But I know them as two girls who just used to have
Started.
a adda in their backyard in their house, and so it has grown from there. And what has helped it grow is one. In the beginning, they were only targeting a very small percentage of the population, and now it's a much larger percentage.
Yeah.
So obviously the industry needs to grow that way. But you still have people who have their niche
There's so
karkhanas.
many, sir.
Okay, designers like Banto, who are known all over the world, and their work is exquisite. But she still contains her
The element
karkhana
of her
within
art.
her own control. And others have given up control so that they, But by giving up control, they open up avenues for students, people who are coming out of your college who will get jobs with them.
Jobs and
Okay.
internships, we get
So
a lot of
that's
opportunities.
when the industry grew that way, when it moved away from a very small percentage of the population to a much larger percentage of the population, it opened up avenues for everybody.
Everybody.
And
Exactly.
then you needed a fashion week, which is when fashion weeks started.
Yes.
Unfortunately, they ended, but they ended because of politics and whatever. But even then, they are much needed because they open up avenues for all the
Everybody.
students of fashion that, can you imagine? If you had 3 fashion shows a year, and there were models being employed, there were
Students
photographers being
backstage,
employed,
front
there was
stage.
light, there was this, there was fashion itself. So that entire industry was just dumped in one day when fashion shows ended.
That's true.
And that's basically how it's grown. And what I've seen is I saw it when it was, in its grassroots stage to when it was at its peak, and also now when its peak is, the downfall also.
Of course.
So I think fashion weeks for sure should come back, and I think the government should be
Support
involved
them.
in this, or big institutes should be involved in this, because it works to their benefit. Where would their students go if you
Exactly.
don't have something like that?
Okay, sir, that brings me to ask you what students would also want to know. That students जिनको आजकल photography में या design industry में आने का शौक है, what advice would you give them, from your experience and from mindset that you might have skipped while you were young, and things that you think were not available and now they can, avail that. What advice would you like to give all the students in today's day?
I studied anthropology. I had nothing to do with photography or even art or anything.
So this is all.
And but that was me. Okay, and when I wanted to be, when I started, there was no such thing as a photography course or anything.
Nothing.
And the way I learned darkroom was I actually took a course in the PACC, because that time there used to be a gentleman called Noshair Ali who taught me darkroom photography, how to develop my own
The very basic dark room, which pani mein dubo and all that.
Bilkul, lal batti and pani.
Ji.
Anyway, so that was the only course I took. Then eventually, at that time, there was nothing. There was no internet. There was no nothing. So I would, if anyone went abroad, the first thing I'd ask them is, bring me magazines on photography, or bring me a book on photography. And that's how I learned, through whatever came my way. So it's so convenient for people now. If I have any glitch in my camera or anything I want to learn, I just go on YouTube and I have there are not one, there's a million people teaching you different aspects of photography which you can easily learn. So that's one way of doing it. The other way is if you have if you're enrolled in an institution, if there's photography there, definitely take a course in it.
Exactly.
If there's fashion, definitely take a course in it.
Exactly.
Our designers, however many we have, 99% of them don't know how to cut and stitch.
Exactly.
Okay, they are all relying on their masters. Okay, if you are one of those designers who knows how to cut patterns and who knows how to, you are definitely better off than designers who have been working for 30 years.
30 years without the knowledge and without the basic
information. Because they rely on their masters.
Yeah.
So you have to know what your niche is, follow it, get expertise from people who are around you. That's where we had this. We were talking about your seniors. Definitely learn from them, because they have a knowledge which you can never get.
Which a lot of people didn't get. You, sir, you couldn't even get it.
So that's one. 2 is YouTube is a wealth of knowledge. 3, all your institutions get it. If you want to be a photographer, go do a course on photography. You have no idea the person who's teaching you, the knowledge he'll give you, where it will take you. To this day, Noshair Ali Saab's not alive anymore, but I still owe everything to him to teach me darkroom photography. To teach me, to
bring you what you are today.
Because it taught me that, I first started that. Then Photoshop came. So when I didn't have to go into the darkroom, I went into Photoshop, and
Photoshop.
all the elements which are in the darkroom, which I learned in there, were used in Photoshop in the same manner.
Same manner.
So it just progressed from one to the other. And had I not had that knowledge, this would have been no use. Definitely, if you're a photographer, Photoshop and all post is something you should learn yourself, because if you leave it to people who do just that, then your creativity is hampered. So you need to know that. With fashion, I would say get an internship.
Get an internship.
There's no limit to how much you can, do
Learn
and
from
what
today's
knowledge you
world.
have. In fact, I would also tell, a fashion person, learn a bit of photography so you know which direction your image is going to go.
Okay, so moving forward, I would like to know how your travel and exploration have, influenced your fashion work, and what tip would you like to give to add cultural elements into today's styling and imaginary?
We cannot be insular. We cannot. You cannot
Specify.
work on your own without knowing what outside influences are. So travel is something which I love, and I love being new place. In fact, that's the thing I would do if I were retired. I'd be retired on a plane so that I
Exactly.
can go everywhere. But what it does is it opens your mind.
It opens
Okay,
your mind.
and the more visuals you see, the more places you go, the more experiences you have. Those experiences end up in your photography, in your work, in your life, and it opens your mind up to how other people think. And I would say, anybody who's closed-minded, you should send them away and send them on a journey. Make them find themselves not in this country, in some other country.
Some other country.
Then come back. But the idea is to come back, because when you get influences and experiences from all around the world, and you come back and you incorporate them into whatever your language is, or whatever um, your the idea of your
culture.
your culture. Once you bring those influences and add them in, then you can create
It gives
something
a
unique, and you
unique.
can create something which is ours, yet it is
Incorporated with,
incorporate, and also is a more global language. In the end of the day, even for fashion houses, they cannot remain in Pakistan. They need to move forward.
forward.
And once they move forward, they have to go beyond the borders of this country. I mean, we look at something like Rasta.
Exactly.
Okay, Rasta is a very good example.
Exactly.
Is a man who's made simple textile from
Simple
Pakistan,
textile.
but sold it to a market abroad. And because he's done that and done it very well, okay, he has bought people from outside looking into Pakistan and finding, if they can find Rasta and selling for so much, maybe they'll find somebody cheaper in Pakistan. So they've opened the border for, for cross-pollination and also for, more, I guess, work. So that's one of the most important things you have to. Once you go abroad, you learn and you come back. Which is why, when people go in any college, they study. They should go abroad and do a year abroad so that they learn other influences. Once you stay in your place, then you sort of stagnate. So it's no point.
That's true. That's absolutely right. Since we are here at TMUC now, I would like to bring this conversation close to students now. At TMUC, we are now offering a BA in Fashion, Image and Styling, a 3-year program, which is in partnership with University of Creative Arts from UK, which focus more on styling, creative directions, and photography and recent social media trends. As a fashion photographer, I would like to know from you what excites you about this program being offered in Pakistan.
I think it's fabulous. I think if you have a student who knows all those aspects of fashion, as I told you, not just designing, but also styling and also photography.
Creative directions, yes.
And it's definitely somebody who would, you can add marketing in the middle of that also.
So we do.
And
we have, students just not, they create, but we also teach them how to market your work, bring it out in industry. Like this is
that's
how you.
very important.
Gee.
It's not just about taking the picture, it's also about how you show it to the world. And I'm terrible at showing things to the world, as I've been told that my Instagram has nothing on it.
So,
because,
like I said, your work already speaks here. You don't need to tell it. We know.
But the thing is that once you create a person who sort of encompasses all those factors, you have a person who's definitely ready to, conquer the world. So, fabulous idea. I think it should be done regularly.
That was really an inspiring advice, sir, for the students. Thank you so much. I would like to share the degree more focuses more on hands-on skills. With an international curriculum, I would like to know from you, do you think these courses that we offer here in Pakistan, like image and styling that we are doing now, do you see, are they bridging the gaps that we have between international education, curriculum and Pakistani? I would like to know it from you. Do you think, are there any bridgings between the education, level? Are we competing globally?
Well, as we were talking before, when you travel, you open your mind.
Yeah.
So it's an amalgamation of the West and the East. And this is immediately that. I mean, this is a Western mindset being taught to an Eastern people.
Eastern people.
So this amalgamation always creates something fabulous.
Exactly.
Okay, so this is very obvious that something like this should happen, and it opens. When you're noticed by a foreign university, then your chances open up as somebody who could be also employed by that university. So it opens up that aspect also, apart from opening up, I'm not talking about fashion students only working within, the big global fashion houses of Pakistan. I'm talking about them working for global houses. I know fashion students who have come out of, universities in Karachi who are sitting in Germany working, in German textile houses. So this shouldn't be limited to only working in Pakistan. And by having a foreign degree in sitting in Pakistan, you've opened your mindset, and not just your mindset, your opportunities also to work outside this country also. So that is something which doubles the amount of employment you will get, and also the amount of credit you get.
That's such a hopeful message, sir. To wrap it up with a personal note for students, I would like to know from you, students enrolling in TMUC Image and Styling degree, I would like to know from you, how do you think this would bring a leverage to students' life in bringing their own style of work, uniqueness, like you did, into the world industry of fashion?
Well, the whole thing is follow your heart. Okay, if you don't have your heart in it, it's never going to be good. So if your parents told you, be a doctor, if you're good at being that and you want to be a doctor, spend the time, be a doctor. If you in your heart you want to be an artist, then whatever you do, you'll never be a good doctor. You'll always be an artist.
Exactly.
So definitely follow your heart. Okay, I don't mean that become broke. Okay, I don't want anyone to be that, but there's always ways of following your passions and still earning money.
Exactly.
Okay, my parents told me years ago, you want to be a photographer, do what the heck you want. Okay, but at the end of the day, you have to run the business.
You run the business.
Okay,
as well.
So I taught myself to love the business which I'm in. I'm a jeweler, and my family has been in jewelry forever.
Mm-hmm.
So I love that. But I'm still a photographer.
You're
so
attached
you have
to
to find a via media in the middle to balance your passions with your bread and butter. And once you do that, nothing in the world will stop you.
सर मुझे एक बात बताएं, अगर आपका कैमरा बोल सकता तो आप कराची का कौन सा राज खोलते?
अरे खुदाया, ये तो कभी ना पूछो. Oh Lord. Okay, just know that I have a camera on me 24/7. Okay, and I have been a fly on the wall in the most strangest of places. I know the innards of Lollywood. Sorry, not Hollywood. I know the innards of the fashion industry, and if I ever did my tell-all book, I will have to find another country to live in, and probably change my name. So, as I said earlier, if you have a camera, you get an all-access pass to anything, and people are very open to the camera. Okay, so when you have a camera and you walk into somebody's life, you're actually walking into their own personal space.
Yeah.
So it's it becomes a point where, the photographer has to learn how to self-edit. So, you don't expose the weaknesses of your subject. You try and make them as better, the best you can show. So in fashion, it's different, but in portraiture, it's completely different. Fashion, it's all about artifice. So it's all about looking good. And usually in my fashion photographs, if I want to use Photoshop, I use Photoshop and remove all the wrinkles, etc. But when I'm doing a portrait photograph, then I want to be as real as possible.
As
So
real as possible.
I try to find the aspect of the person which why the reason why I'm photographing them, and then expose that. So it becomes like a conversation between me and the subject.
Yeah.
And that's what makes a great photograph. And I would tell everybody, who does tell all books about people, that you lose your integrity if you give away those secrets which belong to other people.
True.
So it's better not to.
So like you said कि जिसके पास camera है, you can start taking pictures. I would like to know that आपको नहीं लगता कि social media ने सबको photographer बना दिया है, or you think it's an insult to the real art? बिल्कुल.
हर इंसान ने तस्वीर लेनी चाहिए, लें। अगर वो अच्छी लेते हैं तो जबरदस्त, बुरी लेते हैं तो प्लीज ना पोस्ट करो, because 90% of the stuff which I see is this is not a good place to photograph from.
Exactly.
If I were taking a portrait of somebody and I was 3 feet away, how long is your arm? ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा 2.5 foot है.
Exactly.
Okay. If I came 2.5 feet away from you with my camera, you'd get scared.
I do, exactly.
But when you're taking a picture, a selfie, it's like, this is fine.
It's fine.
Okay. And it's not fine. It's the worst photograph you could take. But even then, having said that, it's all about self-expression. And agar log, filter se apne khud ko aise kar sakte hain, वैसे कर सकते हैं, करें. It's nice. In the end of the day, it's entertainment for you when you're sitting on your phone and scrolling through people's images. And also, it's a pictorial diary of your life.
Of your life, yeah.
Which is fine. Which
Exactly.
is in itself, it has, it has the right to be there.
I would like to know, sir, any one picture that you have taken till now, which is very close to your heart.
Oh God,
that one memory of you.
That is too difficult.
Just one, anyone. We can just show it.
It's not about photographs for me. It's more about the story behind the photograph. So, I have, I've gone into people's lives and photographed them for so many years that I have a wealth of images of people, and every image is a story.
Exactly.
So for me, the stories are more important than the picture. But to give you one, Madam Noorjan. Madam Noorjan, I've been wanting to photograph her forever, and she would always find some excuse. Okay, and she was my father's customer.
Oh, okay.
Okay, my father's a jeweler, and she loved jewelry. So at one point, I convinced her to be photographed by me, and we arrived at her house, and she looked at me and she said, "Tum kaun ho?" I told her who I was. She said, "Hassan ke bete ho?" I said, "Yes." "Abhi apne abba ko phone karo." तो उस जमाने में वो मोटे फोन होते थे बड़े वाले, तो we called up and Madam Noorjan's on the phone with my father, and the first thing she says is, "Hassan, मैं मर रही हूँ, मुझे डायमंड दिला दो."
Oh God.
I was like, okay, fine. And then I photographed her, but that little story of hers never left me.
I know.
It was always like,
of
"Hassan, मैं मर रही हूँ, मुझे डायमंड दिला दो." Okay. Like that, so many. Now she's not popular anymore, but I went with the Pakistan government to Aung San Suu Kyi, who was at that time in house arrest for so many years in Burma. And now she's, of course, you don't consider a nice person because she's killing Muslims. But at that time, she hadn't. And went to her house, and they told me that the only way they convinced me to go there is that I would get 5 minutes to photograph her. So I go to Burma, and there's all these politicians there, and she's there also, and they gave me 5 minutes, and
That's
she did
huge.
and she did the very stale, okay,
Oh,
portrait,
really?
okay, one of those portraits, and I was like, this is horrible.
This is
So I walked out and I sat there and I was sitting there, and some lady bought me tea.
all
Old
that struggle
woman
for
bought me
that.
chai
Hmm.
and started talking to me, and she was very elegant old lady, and she said, why are you upset? So I said, I wanted to take her photograph, and it was so uncomfortable that it was a terrible photograph. And she said, okay, and that was it. And then everyone left, and I had to leave also.
Hmm.
And as Aung San Suu Kyi was standing at the doorway,
Mhm.
she was saying bye bye to everyone, and then this lady, who was the lady who gave me the tea,
Mhm.
behind me said something to Suu Kyi,
Uh-huh.
and she burst in a smile, and I quickly took that photograph. And then
Oh,
the woman
finally.
came up to me and said, "You like it now?"
Finally.
And I said, "Yes, thank you so much." So your life is filled with these, because as a photographer, you're like a fly on the wall in everybody's life. So you have these lovely stories which go with the photographs,
I can hear
which
a lot
is
of
why
them.
I've always told people,
Mhm.
I'm not one of those people who likes to explain the story,
Hmm.
but in a format like this, I would share
Hmm.
the backstory to a photograph, because the backstory is usually more fun than the photograph.
So I can hear a lot of memories you have, but I would like to know one more. Or एक ऐसा लम्हा from your life which you want to freeze. You want that time to never go. What is that?
Huh. Oh God, कितने सारे हैं. Whatever.
Surprise you most.
Who do you want to know about?
Anyone.
That's my question. Let's see. Nusrat Fateh Ali Khan. Okay, photographing him was. I mean, honestly, I've loved his music. I feel that I'm one of the first people who ever heard his music, because in America, nobody knew him in Pakistan. But in America, my friend gave me a CD of a Kawal who sang in Paris. And it was an American man who gave me this. He said, "You have to hear this. It's a gentleman who just sang in Paris." And I heard it, and it was Nusrat Fateh Ali Khan. It was mind-blowing. The best CD I've ever heard in my life. And I came to Pakistan. I said, "Oh, have you heard this?" And nobody knew who he was, other than one person.
Nobody knew? Okay.
Nobody knew him. He hadn't taken out Mast. Nobody knew who he was.
Hmm.
So my cousin knew who he was. And my cousin said, "Listen, I have him coming to this shadi to sing."
Oh, really?
And in their house, there was a tiny little room this big. And Nusrat Fateh Ali and all the brothers in the Qawwal sang. And that's the first time I heard him live. Then years later, I'd photographed him there and here and there. And years later, there was a Channel V concert in Karachi. And in the Channel V's concert, there were all these, like, there Junoon was singing, and Junaid Jamshed and Vital Signs and all that. And backstage, Khan Saab was sitting, and I was sitting with him, and I was saying, "Khan Saab, मुझे आपकी picture लेनी है stage पे, but मुझे कभी नहीं आ जानेंगे stage में, वो ये Indian वाले हैं और वो Channel V हैं और वो तंग करेंगे." तो he says to somebody, he said, "तुम्हारे पास कुर्ता है? इस टप्पू को कुर्ता पहनाओ."
Kurta was the only thing
on me. Okay. And I sat. Nusrat, is standing there, Khan Saab, and I'm like maybe 4 people away from him, and I sat with the Qawwals with my camera, and I would clap, and I would take my picture and take a picture, and I was on stage with him. And this is how wonderful people can be and are. And with a camera, this is the access you get, which is undeniable. It's amazing.
So kurta was the only element to take you to the stage. That's it.
Yeah.
Okay, sir. I would like to know one more thing. एक ऐसा celebrity जिसने आपको हैरान कर दिया हो. You were surprised, while you were shooting or anything like that.
Allah, कितनी चीजें मुझे surprise करती हैं. People surprise me. You're walking on the road, and you take a photograph, and the person ends up telling you, "Okay, मैं फलाना 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 फलाना," and रिश्तेदारी निकाल देते हैं. This happens a lot. But let's see, surprise myself. I had never been wildlife photographer and nature photographer. I've never really bothered about that. And Nikon took me on this trip, a safari to Masai Mara, Kenya. And I went with all the some Pakistani like wildlife photographers, and then a whole bunch of Japanese people. And because I'm a fashion photographer, they sort of delegated me. बोले सारे fashion photographers को एक जगह डाल दो, वो फजूल में आए हैं.
अच्छा.
Okay, तो ठीक है. I mean, and everyone showed me this picture of these people, like amazing wildlife photographers have done these photographs, and everyone was showing and sharing them. And they put us on this thing, me and my two other friends, and we went off on our own. But because we were on our own, okay, and we had no other wildlife photographers with us, we had the best time ever. And at the end of the day, the pictures which we showed
were better than
a million times better than what the people who are exclusively wildlife photographers. And because of that, and because of my connection with Nikon, I was then called to Tokyo and called one of the 32 best photographers of the world, and given a Nikon camera. But that journey and discovering talents in yourself that you never even knew you had, okay, it was a surprise and an aspect which I would like to follow more. But it's just wonderful to know things. Yeah.
Since it's getting very interesting, I would like to know, कोई ऐसी 3 pictures आप बताएं, in which you can explain your life. Any 3 photos जिसमें आप अपनी life को explain करेंगे, and why? Any 3 photos.
Any photo?
Yeah, like how would you picture, like a picture, that explains your life?
I would be a blank image of nothing.
A blank image?
Maybe a sky, just simple sky, because that's my limit.
Sir, रोज की जिंदगी में एक ऐसा element बताएं जो आपको रोज, it keeps you alive. Any one thing. कौन सी ऐसी चीज है? That keeps your creativity alive.
I think, you have to push yourself to live. Okay, I hate to be this pessimist, but you have to look forward to something, and there's always something to look forward to, but you create that thing which you look forward to. So मेरे साथ क्या है कि मैं सुबह को काम पे जाता हूँ, शाम को whatever करता हूँ, फिर I look forward to whatever's at the end of my day. Okay, so you create your own, I guess, point to look forward to. So make it worthwhile. That's what I do every time. I mean, if I never sit idle. Okay, I'm one of those people. If I'm watching TV, I'm usually doing something with my hand, or I'm doing something. So you just have to find ways of passing your time, and usually creativity is something which gives you. It fulfills your passions, and it fulfills your heart. So you do things which always end up being, fulfilling. That's the idea.
Sir, लोग आपको photographer, artist के तौर पे जानते हैं. Anything personal about you that nobody knows till now that will shock everyone? Like, oh, this is also Tapu Javeri?
I think I already told you. I'm an anthropologist.
Oh yeah,
okay, I did my master's in archaeology in Greece. Nobody knows that.
Nobody knows that, exactly. Even I didn't know that.
Yeah, nobody knows that because whatever. But the thing is that that is another part of my life, and it sort of helped me. Anthropology is the study of man, so it helps me when I photograph somebody. It helps me, have that knowledge which I learnt in college. It helps me in taking a better portrait.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much for being with us today. It was such a, creative. It was not just about photography. It was about creativity, passion, and how, so much diversion in just one person. So much to learn, so much lesson to learn. Our students will not just learn about photography, but a lot of things from you. Thank you so much, sir. Thanks for being with us.
Lovely being here. Thank you.
Thank you so much,
meeting
sir.
you all. And thank you to everybody.